for the feed. Tonight, we are talking about the NDC primaries. It was one without surprises. Some say shock prizes, some say surprises. No matter how you describe it, you can even describe it as a shock prize, as some of the incumbent MPs of the NDC party lost their places in the parliamentary elections to have members represent their various constituencies in the 2020 elections. Tonight, in the studio to do the discussion with me is Jeso Buakon, who is an MPP communications team member. We tried getting an NDC communication team member here in the studio to do the discussions with us, but unfortunately, he couldn't join us here due to some circumstances beyond his control. But we'll still be doing the conversation with Jesu Buakon, and we hope he wouldn't malign the NDC that much. This laughter already says a lot.
Oh, no. I think it's quite unfortunate the NDC communicator couldn't join us. But all the same, for God and country, we'll speak truth to issues and we'll make sure we'll continue to set the record straight.
What do you make of the elections in the first place?
Let me say good evening to our lovely viewers. Looking at what transpired last Saturday, I mean, it is clear that the NDC has demonstrated a high level of tolerance when it comes to election. Because you could remember, just recently, by-election with us happened in the country, Chirponi, Ayawaso West, Wagon, Etiwa, and so on. The act of violence which happened, and it became a topical issue in the country, whereby we are supposed to get time to discuss issue of national concern, and we'll be discussing matters of this. I'm happy that the rate at which these violence has reduced. Although there were pockets of violence, when you go to Ho Central, when you go to Cape Coast South, and when you go to Sefi, Akontombra, you know, all these things doesn't speak well as a political party when you have all this.
And none of our politics in general. If violence in a way shouldn't be tolerated, you know, in every sphere of our life.
Exactly. So on this note, let me give credit to the president of our land, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
What has it done to make this credit?
Yes, I'm coming there. I'm coming there. You agree with me that vigilante law was passed.
Yes.
Okay, so as a result of that, when you look at when you look at the punishment, and when you look at when you default in this law, some of the repercussions. So sometimes it has placed fear in most of the groups
you're taking the conversation out of context and granting someone credit who was even out of the shores of the land when they do their elections.
Exactly.
What has this vigilante law been passed got to do with the peace that people saw in this NDC elections?
Understand. Sometimes let's give credit where credit is due. Okay, assuming there was nothing like a bill which will restrict political party groups from misbehaving in an election, you know what will happen in this country.
But they were not. It's not as if there were two different political parties that were contesting for the position.
Yes,
it was just one party.
It is one party,
and it's the same group of people who came out. So there was no need to even have two political party groups that would come out of the blue to cause mayhem in these elections.
Very well. But over the years, okay, when you follow the trend analysis of NDC election in primaries, it is mind-blowing. I'm happy. That is why my initial...
What about the MPP?
Oh, you know, we are a tolerant party. MPP is not violent as the NDC. You know, our primaries that...
Who says so?
Oh, the records are there.
What are the records?
The records are there.
What are the records?
The records speak for itself.
What are the records that are speaking for themselves?
The records is that trace our primaries that we've gone, like even region by region.
Yes.
You will not see anything like groups beating polling station executive, beating...
Should we start mentioning so-called party vigilante groups or militia groups that actually even had the temerity to walk into court and send out their members?
I think when you said those militia, those are strong words. I think even Manasseh Hazuri, has even...
So we should say vigilante groups?
Has even withdrawn
We should
those
describe
words.
them as vigilante groups?
Oh, I think now we have nothing like vigilante groups. No, for MPP, we don't have anything like vigilante groups.
That's not true.
We don't have.
No.
You know, what we have, those are not vigilante groups.
But what are they?
They are concerned Ghanaians, and they are party members who for the welfare and for the peace and democracy of the country.
Delta Force.
Oh, you know, you can't tell me
Delta Force actually walked into court and sent out their members, and the court could not even say a word about those members.
Okay, what happened?
So how do you describe such a group?
I'm coming. Those members were sent to court.
How do you describe such a group?
Oh, it is not a vigilante
They are
group.
concerned Ghanaian group,
concerned
right?
Ghanaians,
okay, let's not take the conversation to a different group and talk about different things. But let's talk about how some incumbent members of the NDC lost their positions. What does it tell us about Ghanaian voters?
You know, Ghanaian voters are very smart and wise. It means moving forward, you cannot take the electorate for granted. Yeah. Looking at what happened in Wild West, Joseph Yeletre, I mean, losing to the former executive secretary of the IGP, Peter Tobu. I mean, it is quite amazing. Yeah. Nobody was thinking these things will happen. Yes. Kumbungu, for instance. Yes. Look at Ras Mubarak. So I'm now imagining if Ras Mubarak would take the bicycle from Kumbungu to Accra or from Accra to Parliament, or, you know, moving forward.
Also winning the seat in Medina.
Moving forward, it clearly tells us that when you are voted into office, you are being given a mandate to serve the good people in that constituency. It is not a matter of joke. It is not a matter of putting on coats, or it's not a matter of dressing neatly and go and sit in Parliament without giving out to the people.
What is required of the people.
Exactly. What is required, you must give it to them. That is why you are voted there.
So per the results you saw over the weekend, does it give the MPP some fear?
Not at all.
Why?
Not at all. We've seen elections where new faces have come into the scene, and at the end of the day, they lost. You could agree with me that Ofuaso Ayubi, the Minister of Information, Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah, for the first time, he won at Ofuaso Ayubi in 2016.
But if you listen to Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah's story, no, before you continue, I'm not to cut you. If you listen to the Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah's story, Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah, even when he was a journalist, was a financier of the person who was occupying that role of being an MP for that place. So it was just normal for him to step in and win the seat. So it wouldn't give you a clear picture of what the electorate actually think of the other people.
When you go by that logic, then I totally disagree with you.
He said it. He said he was a financier, so
no problem.
It was natural for him to be given the opportunity to lead the party in that area.
It doesn't serve as a yardstick to the NDC, whereby the new faces, the new entrants. A typical example is Ayawaso West Owagon, where John Dumelo is in now. You can't tell me John Dumelo will defeat Lydia Seyram. Alas, it won't happen.
Why would it not happen?
It won't happen.
Why would it not happen?
No, it won't happen. Because, you know, there are some seats in this country, you know, it is MPP, where other seats are for NDC. It is a fact.
But we just spoke about how some incumbents have lost their seats, and let's not also forget, last year, 2016, during the elections, there were some known NDC seats the MPP won.
Yes.
So,
I think
there's a possibility of some MPP seats, just like the Ayawaso West Wagon, where everyone knows that it's an MPP seat. But someone like John Dumelo could just step in and change the narrative.
Okay, let me give you some trend analysis. For instance, my constituency is Ablekuma South. Yes. Over the years, I think the gap between the NDC and the MPP was 20,000. Yes. It was 20,000. 4 years, every 4 years, we closed the gap by 5,000. Currently, the gap between the NDC and MPP in Ablekuma South is 5,334. Okay, so imagine 2020, next year, moving on into an election whereby we do close the gap every 4 years by 5,000 plus. I can confidently tell you that the seat in Ablekuma South is going to be MPP. That is the simple logic I'm trying to put. I'm coming.
Yes.
Buem, for instance, where Kofi Adams won. Yes, where Kofi Adams won. Yes. Okay, when you look at the result, when you compare results from 2008, 2012, 2016, you know, the margin, the MPP keep coming in. We keep closing the gap year after year.
But you speak as if you've forgotten the areas NDC also keep closing the gaps.
Oh, for that one, yeah. For that one is there. For that
so,
one,
so,
I'll not dispute.
So when you say MPP keeps closing the gap, you are trying to say that nearly every single 4 years or every 4 years,
sure,
the MPP close the gap. And what it means is that they are going to take over that seat. The very moment you step in and take over that seat, there's another seat somewhere the NDC too have been closing in, and they could take it.
You know, it is election. That is why we call it election. You need not to fear delegates, but you must respect the delegate. Okay? When you have voted as...
Let's not forget, one of you actually said fear delegates.
Yes, that was, I remember, that was our former General Secretary.
Secretary General,
that's,
yes.
Sir John. He made those comments way back. But we need to respect the delegate. We shouldn't take delegate for granted. Those who voted for you and you try to turn your back on them, no, it's not working these days. I mean, when you are giving the mantle to lead the people, make sure you go back and you serve the people. Look at Adenta, for instance. Yes. Nana Oyelita. I mean, it was... Oyelita has the shock of her life. I mean, she thinks she can win the seat easily, but...
Oyelita getting the shock of her life could also be another shock for the MPP of their lives.
No. It won't happen. It won't happen anywhere. That is why I was trying to give you the trend analysis of the votes before and after.
When you try making the trend analysis, you've also forgotten that there are certain areas that this same trend analysis also works.
I agree. There are areas...
So when it works, so
yes,
what makes it look like a finality for the MPP?
Okay, what makes the thing bright is that looking at government policies that we've introduced, that the president of our land has introduced, which has even the ordinary Ghanaian is enjoying. We are talking about transformation in the economy.
The Ghanaian has a right to enjoy. So don't use the word even for the ordinary Ghanaian.
Yes, understand. The ordinary Ghanaian has all the right to enjoy those rights. But ask yourself, those days, was it happening 8, 10 years ago? Were those things happening? Okay, we live in a country where the president thinks about the next generation and not the next election.
You know what? We need to go for a break and come back, and you answer the question, what policies the government have put in place that have made them monopolize power? And for the way Jesse Boakwe is speaking, it looks like the MPP have grips of power till eternity. When we come back to the studio, he will answering questions relating to the kind of policies the current president have put in place for even the ordinary Ghanaian to enjoy. We'll be back in a jiffy to talk more here on the feed with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Welcome back from the break. This is the feed with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Tonight, we are talking about the NDC primaries that happened in the just gone by weekend, where 9 incumbent MPs lost their positions or their quest to lead their various constituencies in the next election, that is the 2020 elections. And in the studio, doing the conversation with me is MPP communication team member, Jesu Boakwe. Unfortunately, we couldn't get an NDC communication team member because he said due to some circumstances, he was not available tonight for the conversation on it. And before we went for a break, Mr. Jesu Boakwe was talking about some of the policies the MPP have put in place that even the ordinary Ghanaian is enjoying. I don't know the kind of people he's describing as the ordinary Ghanaian because we all have votes.
I know.
So why is someone an ordinary Ghanaian?
Each and everyone has a vote. If you are 18 years...
So I'm not ordinary?
I'm coming. If you are 18 years and above and of sound mind, you have a voter's ID card. You have all the legal right to cast your ballot on election day. So when I say ordinary Ghanaian, it means everyone, anyone. You know, ordinary Ghanaian here simply means, you know, there are we have class of people, we have the middle class, we have the... So I'm talking about those...
The first class, the middle class, their votes are not superior to that of the ordinary vote.
I know for a fact. What I'm trying
Isn't that demeaning Ghanaians? To saying that because some people are not in a certain class, they are ordinary. Isn't it demeaning?
I think if you use the word demeaning, I don't agree with you.
Why?
Ordinary Ghanaian, it means, you know, those on the street selling, I think people who are the deprived communities and government policies have been able to help them in one way or the other. My hometown, for instance, Ejumako Ocheso, in the central region. I remember when you go to my hometown, most of the kids who normally complete JHS, it becomes very difficult for them to even further their education. So when there is a policy like the free SHS, which has helped most of my members, most of my family members, most of your family members, most of other family members who have been able to go to school through this free senior high school, I think we must applaud the government. Policies like one district, one factory, when you go to Ekumfi, it is functioning. Chief Baini has come to
where?
Ekumfi.
That's the only place it is functioning? That's the only place you can mention?
That is what I'm coming to mention.
Okay.
Okay, I'm coming to mention a lot. Okay, when you go to Bono region, okay, we have the cashew factory, Casa de Europa, where we have the potatoes factory, so many. Okay, we have more than 50 factories which is being set up and functioning currently as we are talking. So policies that will help citizens to get jobs. Look at the employment rate as we came, almost 66,000 jobs created. I mean,
you see, when you talk about 66, no, you will continue on that.
No,
but when you talk about the 66,000 jobs,
Mufta,
where are those jobs?
Those records are not coming from
66,000 jobs. Where are those jobs? Who are the people who have been employed?
Okay.
Which category of people have been employed into those 66,000 jobs?
Let me break it down for you. When you come in the year 2017,
yes,
the Ministry of Finance employed nurses. They employed over 16,000 nurses.
You didn't employ nurses?
Please, I'm coming. Let me land. You've asked a question.
Yes,
so
answer that question. Because
yes.
I have a fact on this. I'm going to pull up that fact just
no
in a minute.
problem.
But just continue.
Yeah,
yes.
you can pull it. I'm speaking on fact.
Okay,
the ministry employed over 16,000, whereby they've had financial clearance to employ 8,000 this year. Going to the Ministry of Education, okay, over 22,000 teaching and non-teaching staff. Last year, December, 8,000 teaching and non-teaching staff was also employed. This year, the same squad will be also, they will make recruitment into those agencies. Okay, so when you move to sector by sector, the Nation Builder score 100,000 jobs. When you move to the Forestry Commission, over 20,000. When you move to the cocoa sector, I mean, the numbers keeps coming.
May we know the categories of the jobs you've created? Because when you say jobs, this job is too vague.
Yeah, that is what I just mentioned. Okay, I gave you sector by sector with figures.
And you said they've employed 16,000 people, 20,000 people.
Exactly.
So in which category? Is it, let's say, the management level, they've employed 10,000 people. If you come down to the cleaners level, they've employed 20,000 people.
I'm coming. I think when we say jobs, okay, let's take the Ministry of the Ghana Education Service. For instance.
Okay.
The 22,000 includes everything. It includes drivers, it includes cleaners, it includes every profession.
But you see, when you say you've created a job is supposed to be a specific category.
Exactly.
So we have jobs for managers.
That is why I've generalized. That is why we've generalized everything. We've gotten all the numbers.
When you generalize it, you make it vague.
No, it is not. Because when you go to those sectors, the people are there working. Okay? Assuming the people are not working, that is where you have challenges and you complain. The people are working, and so far so good. The government is on top of issues. When it comes to roads in this country, we were in this country.
Roads?
Yes, we were in this country.
I'm talking about roads.
I'm talking about roads. Whereby most of the roads in this country, we've awarded contracts
Don't just go there. Last week, Manasseh came out with an expose that you people have given out a contract and someone is selling that contract because the person has to find a buyer for that contract.
What happened?
That road is still lying down there. Why are you giving out the contract?
No, let me land.
So when you talk about giving out roads...
Ask yourself, when Manasseh came out...
Have you given out the contract?
When Manasseh came out with that
Have you given out the contract?
No, before I answer your question, when Manasseh came out with that expose, ask yourself, what happened? The president came out and we suspended...
But you weren't talking about how you've given out contracts to roads.
You mentioned an example. You mentioned the PPA, Ajeni Mwatin.
Yes.
That what happened. And I'm telling you what happened.
Okay, in my village, we have a 32-kilometer road that has been lying down since. And you know what?
In your village?
No, hold on,
in your village?
Hold on, just hold on.
No problem.
I don't know if just let me just say this. Tonight, it's a pleasure if someone can reach out to the vice president. You use this route nearly every single time you go to the village. Why is the road still on that state? You use this very road and go to the village. It is the same road. Come on, why is the road on that state?
Muftar.
It's a bit embarrassing when you talk about how...
No, wait. You've asked... You just made a statement.
Yes.
That's why the vice president used those roads and it has not been solved up to date. The question is,
yes.
We were told in this country by the previous administration, but all road is being constructed. You know, for a fact. We were told in this country.
We saw some of them constructed. Have you constructed even one since you came?
Muftar.
Yes.
You said we've not constructed.
Have you constructed one?
So many.
Where?
So many.
Where? Which road?
From Omanjo. From Omanjo to Ofanko barrier. Let me give you area by area.
Omanjo to Ofanko barrier.
Yes, you have internet here, the power of internet. You can just check it. When you go to Adenta, so many areas in this country. When you go to Kumasi and Noga Junction, so many. So many.
Noga Junction was contracted by you.
Please. No, I'm talking about areas. And when we are talking about major roads in this country, which links to where we normally get our products for processing, the 14 cocoa rows that was captured in the budget by the Ministry of Finance earlier this year. You know, those roads are still under construction. The contractors are busily working on the road. Your road that you mentioned, that your hometown, the vice president used to use that.
He used to. It is his road. So it's not as if he uses
No problem. So how will you know if a contract has been awarded? When was the last time you used those roads? So this
in July, I was there.
Oh, you said July, but
just the gone by month. I was in the village.
But today is not July. We are in August. We are in August, so you should know. You should know the processes in awarding contract. You can't just wake up and give a contract to anyone. You know, you need to pass the right channel. How will you know if those contracts has been given to?
It hasn't been given. If it was given, I would know.
You don't know. You don't know for a fact.
I said if it was given, I would know. You
now.
know why?
So what
you see, there are certain things you cannot say on air, but there are certain things you wish you could say on air. Unfortunately, you cannot say everything on air. But the kind of people who have occupied government positions and they've come from those villages, Wulugu, Silinga, Nabari, Sarba, Du, Pasimpe. It's unfortunate that when it rains, you people allow the water to cut off the road. Even when you're going to your villages, you cannot even get to your villages because water will cut the road off. It's unfortunate you have nothing more to say. It's unfortunate.
No. Tell me it's unfortunate. It is early days yet.
Just 30 seconds.
Early days yet for you to criticize government on roads.
I am criticizing the people who are from my village, who are from the villages on that stretch.
That is why I'm saying it is early days yet. Exercise patience. You know, most of the roads have been awarded to contractors. So let's wait and see what government will do.
On that note of roads have been awarded to people, so let's keep on waiting. We've been waiting since. I have been waiting since, I don't know how many years I was. But good evening to everybody in all the villages I mentioned. I know most of you have been watching. It's a pleasure coming your way every day here on The Feed. Tonight, we spoke about the NDC gone by primaries and how some incumbent members have lost their positions to represent the NDC in the 2020 elections. What message does it send out to these political parties? Like he mentioned, what he said was that electorate votes are no longer on autopilot. It's been a pleasure coming your way here on The Fit with me, Muftar Nabila Abdullahi.